The number of children suffering sexual abuse in England has been vastly underestimated, with a study suggesting that only 1 in 8 victims are known to the authorities.
Professor Tanya Byron is a clinical psychologist and presents a programme on BBC Two tonight that looks in depth at the report. And Yehudis was abused from the age of 13. Thank you both very much for joining us. Yehudis, I'll come back to you in a minute. I'll just speak to Tanya first of all. When you looked at these figures, and I know you have been dealing with this kind of subject matter for some years, what were you most struck by?
I think it's the numbers are just truly horrifying. In a 2-year period from 2012 to 2014, what we knew in terms of numbers reported to the police and local authorities were 50,000 children. What the Children's Commission has been able to do is pull together data from a variety of sources, hidden data if you like, and actually the number is closer to 425,000 children. And within that 2-year period, what we know is that there were fewer than 6,500 convictions. So more children are being abused than I guess the numbers are showing. 1 in 8 children don't report abuse. This is a massive, massive issue, and what we're doing to protect children is really just not good enough if we don't even know the scale of the problem, which obviously now today we do.
Yehudis, you were abused by someone you knew from the age of 13, someone who's now been tried, convicted and sentenced to jail. Yeah. Was it somebody within your sort of family and friend circle?
He was a very good family friend. He was friends with my parents since I was very young, so he was always part of the family, always at family events, social gatherings.
So very difficult for you then, you must have felt terrible about it, for you to do anything about it.
Well, it's also everyone liked him. He got on with everyone, and I didn't think anyone would actually believe what I was saying about him because he was always so friendly, so helpful, would always offer to help around the house, do things, babysit, school homework. So if I was going to say something bad about him, they wouldn't believe me.
When did you eventually feel brave enough to say something? It was years later, wasn't it?
Yeah. There were 2 points. When I was just turning 21. Yeah. And I'd watched a TV show with Oprah, and there was a girl on the couch who described everything that had happened to her, and it sounded like what had happened to me. And I suddenly had the words to put to what it was, and I realised actually this was sexual abuse and this was rape. Before then this was just a terrible thing and it was horrible. So I suddenly had the language. So I came and told my parents. Yeah. And then I went to therapy for a while, but I didn't tell sort of anyone else. Yeah.
So Tanya, you know, Yehudis' experience may be shared by tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people today, and she's just explaining how very difficult it is to break out of that cycle. It took her years. So how do we reach out to these children who are being abused on a daily basis?
Well, first of all, I want to say good morning to Yehudis. We've spent time together in the summer filming for the programme, and Yehudis incredibly bravely sharing her story to enable, as this morning, to enable people to talk about this and to report the abuse. So we know that 2/3 of abuse happens in or around the family. 40% would be a male family friend or a neighbour, 25% would be a father, 10% would be a mother, which is the new figure that's come out on this report that many people are also finding really shocking. What do we do? Well, the difficulty is if the person who is abusing you is someone who is known and trusted, either a parent or a close family friend, as we just heard from Yehudis, what do you do? Children are really trapped. And, you know, fundamentally at the moment we have a disclosure-led system, so really the onus and the burden is on children to talk about it. Well, first of all, do you know what it is you are talking about? Again, as Yehudis so brilliantly explains, so bravely and honestly tells us, she didn't even know the words to put to it. And this is then about how we educate children about this, how we empower children to understand that what is being done is not right, and they need to talk to people about it. It's also for all of us, adults, parents, professionals, to spot the signs. A lot of children speak without words. A lot of children that I work with in child protection services self-harm or show behaviourally the distress that they're in because they cannot articulate articulate it because of the shame, the guilt and the fear, because often children are manipulated and coerced by their abuser not to speak about it, and bullied and threatened if they do. So it really is a joined up piece of thinking, but it's also shifting the onus from children in terms of disclosure, and thinking more strategically about how we spot the signs and work together to support a child to disclose, to get the treatment that they need, and also for the perpetrator to receive the full weight of the law.
Yehudis, I just want to pick up on exactly, and you did explain it very well, that the person who was abusing you was a family friend, sort of hiding in plain sight, actually. Nobody at all at any point realised what was going on?
No.
So what would you, if children are in that sort of position now, and Tanya's saying, you know, they should reach out and help, what would your advice be to someone who feels uncomfortable, perhaps?
As a child, I tried to reach out. I think I was 15, I tried to tell a teacher at school.
Right.
I couldn't find the words to describe what had happened. So it was something's not right at home, and they just sort of reassured me things would get better. They didn't know the right questions to ask. They didn't know how to prompt the conversation to get me to talk more about it, and that was it.
And the onus is, of course, not on you as well. What about for parents as well? What sort of questions? It's questions that they should be asking, is it?
Well, it's also teaching the children. I didn't know that sexual abuse happens. I didn't know that I had the power to stop it because it was a grown-up, and they had more, you know, power, so to speak. It's really trying to empower children to take body ownership, and that they can say no if a grown-up is asking them to do something or is forcing them to.
Tanya, Yehudis was explaining earlier that she sort of was sprung into action when she saw something on TV, the Oprah Winfrey show. There may be people watching now who are in a similar position to what she was a few years ago. What can they do now, today, to get themselves out of this trap?
Well, they need to, first of all, find a trusted adult. If we're talking about a child or a young person, find a trusted adult and know that what you have to say is important and it needs to be listened to. And if you struggle to say it, you can draw it, you can write it down. There are many, many ways that you can communicate what you need to say. Even if you're confused, it's okay, you can ask questions. There are many adults now, because of the historic child sex abuse cases that we're seeing, who are coming forward for the first time, go via their GP, can go via the NSPCC or the National Association for People Abused in Childhood. Childline obviously is available. You can phone Childline, the number won't show up on the bill. Talk about it, tell people what's going on. Whatever you've been told in terms of what would happen to you if you do talk about it, that is a manipulation. You have justice and fairness on your side, and there are people there who will help you. You need to tell us and enable us to really understand what's going on for you, and you will be helped.
Right.
Thank you very much indeed, Tanya, and thank you very much, Yehudis, as well. Thank you for being so brave as well and coming to talk to us. Thank you.
And a special programme detailing the final